What's going on, my beautiful people out on the YouTube ethosphere? I hope you guys had a great weekend and happy holidays. So I'm just going to jump right into this one. I am super excited to talk today about this. Like I'm legit excited, so much so to where I hope that I can give you guys all the information in a detailed and concise fashion, to where after you guys are finished watching this video, you feel empowered and you feel motivated and you feel energized to kind of go out there and to tackle one of the biggest and scariest things that people tell us we should be afraid of and to avoid at all costs, and that is our credit reports and credit scores. Um, I don't know if, if you guys are like me, you haven't always had, or you probably don't have the best credit scores or best credit reporting history. We know that life kicks us in the teeth. Things happen. The two major things we know that a lot of us have are medical bills and student loans. And so, what I'd like today's video to do is to kind of help just remove some of the I'm just going to say some of the embarrassment that society tells us that we should have with not understanding our credit reports and scores, and some of the fear that we have. We're kind of tackling it because it's just such a it seems like a gargantuan task. So let's just jump right into this, guys. I know you guys' time is valuable, and I want to make sure that I maximize the time as much as possible. Okay, so one of my favorite songs back in the day is "Money, Money, Money, Money," and today's theme is going to be credit, 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 credit. Okay, so give you guys a little bit of history. You know, the number one credit agency back in the day was the Bill Fair and Errol Isaac Act that was created in the 1950s. They created the original automated credit scoring models, but they were initially unsuccessful. So Fair and Isaac continued to refine their credit scoring models throughout the time, and we have what's manifested into the FICO score as a result of those two gentlemen. Okay, it was the passing of the Fair Credit Reporting Act in 1970 that created a regulated system to help fairly determine who received a loan, um, based on which information could be collected and what kind of information could be reported instead of the individual character, which is what was used before that point. Okay, so Equifax, they were the original credit bureau. They were founded like all the way back in 1899, and then Experian, they're the newest ones. They were considered the largest bureau at one point in the 70s and the 80s, and then somewhere in between that, you have TransUnion. So for those of you who don't know, we have three main credit bureaus. We have Equifax, we have Experian, and we have TransUnion. Equifax is the one that most creditors report to, but as you guys will find out, all of the credit bureaus, they don't necessarily have all of the accurate information, which can make things a little bit more challenging and overwhelming when it comes to trying to check things. But I digress. Of the three main credit bureaus, there are two scoring models. Now, I don't want to get too in depth into this part, and just for the simple fact is because the scoring models, they constantly change and they're constantly tweaking it and they're constantly moving it around, and there's not a lot of clarity and transparency on when you actually go to a auto loan company or you want to get a personal loan, exactly what reports they're pulling. You'll notice that you'll always do a hard inquiry on the credit report, but you don't exactly know which one that they're pulling it from, and you don't exactly know if they're pulling it also from your actual FICO score, or if they're pulling it directly from one of the own internal bureaus credit calculation calculation algorithms. Okay, so a lot of you guys probably wonder, well, what what are the what are the percentages that actually calculate the score? And there are five main things. One is your payment history. Two is your length of credit. Three, your types of credit. That's right. So some credit bureaus look favorably if you have a mortgage because they consider it that it's you're considered to be a little bit more stable or responsible. But the different types of credits, having a store credit card, a regular just a credit card, maybe a personal loan, something like that. They like to see a nice balance of credit. Also, your credit usage or your utilization. That's actually really important. I know people who have actually had 700 plus credit scores who were denied lines of credit because their debt to income ratio was too high. Everyone thinks that your credit score is the end all be all, and it is 90-ish, 95% of the time. But I do know that if your debt to income is very high, they will look at that as an indicator that, well, maybe either we're going to not give you as much as you're asking for, or maybe we'll scale it back. It's hit or miss, depends on the creditor. Some creditors will say, hey, as long as your credit score is over a certain amount, we'll give you the golden gates. And some will say, yeah, we'll scale it back. But just to let you know, it isn't end all be all. That definitely can play a factor. Okay. Now, in terms of the credit score numbering system, okay, the FICO score ranges from 300 to 850. Okay. Um, what's considered excellent is anything between, I would say, 720 and higher. In terms of good credit score, would be anywhere from like a 690 and 720. And then what would be considered average would be anywhere from, say, like a 650 to a 690. Now, what I've noticed recently is that a lot of the creditors have been slightly lowering the scores to where um, if you go and you apply for a store credit card, they may consider you to have average credit score of 625 or 630. One of the things that people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is that just because the credit bureaus have their own definitive, black and white credit score models, the creditors have their own as well, that the kind of internal that they use. And so, let's say you have a 640 or something like that, they may still say that you have above average credit. Maybe they'll say you have average. It's really hit or miss. But it's definitely not. It definitely seems to be um, a revolving. Definitely seems to be kind of like a what do you call it? Um, it's not consistent from creditor to creditor. Okay. So the next thing is, well, if I want to start attacking and start improving my credit score, or if I want to take a look and see all of the collection accounts and my high debt to income and all of my late payments, and I want to start kind of getting my life together and see exactly kind of what I call it is kind of getting to the mental initial pain. I'm a big believer that I really do believe that everything in success is 90% mental. Okay, and there's a lot of mental barriers and hangups and embarrassments that we have that can kind of stop and deter us from getting to the next level and from kind of breaking free and achieving that financial freedom. But so long as you're willing to take the step forward, that is, I personally believe, 80% of the battle. Okay, no matter your financial situation, no matter how tough things are, no matter how many student loans you have, no matter how many collection accounts you have, or anything of that nature, or bankruptcies, it doesn't matter. Taking the steps will get you ahead of 80 to 90% of the people. Okay, so you're ready to move forward. And you say, hey, I want to check my scores. Where do I do this at? Is it going to cost me any money? Is it going to hurt my score if I check my own scores? What's the next step? So you got a few options. Okay, the federal government by law allows you to pull your credit report through through a government site once per year for free. Now, it doesn't give you your scores, but it does give you your reports, and it does allow you to actually take a look and see everything that you owe and all of your accounts and things of that nature. Okay, so what you're going to do is when you want to actually access that, all right, when you want to actually access that, you're going to go. Oh God, let's see what we got here. Okay, here we go. I got so many boxes open, I don't even know where to send things at. All right, I got a lot of stuff for you guys today. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to annualcreditreport.com. Okay, this is a site that allows you to go on once a year. You go on here, you fill out your information, and you can actually pull your TransUnion, your Equifax, and your Experian reports. It is no cost, and it does not hurt your scores, and it doesn't even show up on the reports. Okay, once you go here and actually generate your reports and send them to you via email, you can then go in there and you can dispute any inaccuracies that you see, whether that be accounts that you see that shouldn't be there, or maybe you weren't late on a payment and they reported you being late. You can dispute that information there. Okay, super powerful and super helpful. Now, in terms of wanting to actually get your scores, okay, you can check those also and it will not hurt you. Now, you have a lot of options to do that, but I'm going to give you guys the free options first. Okay, you can do creditkarma.com. I'm sure a lot of you know this, but if you don't know this, This is an excellent app. I've been using this for years. You can download it on your phone. It's a free app. It's free to sign up. It costs you nothing. And I want to also put this out there. I'm getting paid for none of this. None of this is affiliate marketing. I'm not associated with this. I don't get paid a dime or a dollar for giving you guys any of this information other than you hitting the like button and subscribe, which I forgot to mention in the beginning. So please do that if this is helpful. All right. With that begging over, go here, creditkarma.com, create an account, and with that, you're going to get your TransUnion and your Equifax scores. The cool thing about this site is that you can actually check this on a recurring basis. You can check it monthly if you want. I mean, there's really no excuse for you to go in here and actually check this on a regular basis, knowing they allow you to do it for free and it doesn't hurt your score. Okay. As far as the other report is concerned, you can go to credit.com and you can take a look at your other report, which is your um, which is your Experian. Credit Karma does TransUnion and Equifax. Experian you can get from credit.com. One of the cool things also that credit.com gives you is you have the ability to go in here and actually pull your FICO score if you're interested in that for just $1. It's an introductory price that they give you. That's great to be able to check that as a one-time thing. All right, so you go here, go to the free sites, you're set up, you get all three of your scores. You go here, you do this once a year, you get your report, you don't pay a thing. All right, you can go here, you can dispute things online, no cost, simple as that. As far as disputing is concerned, it takes about 30 to 45 days for the credit bureau to check in with the creditors. So you'll go here, you'll dispute a TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian item, depending on, because again, the reports will always have different information. You'll even see the same account, and one will say 30 days late, one will say 90 days late. That's just they don't talk to each other. So some people think that they're linked, that they communicate information. They don't. They don't talk to each other, and so you will see a lot of discrepancies with that. Don't be alarmed. I get that quite often. Okay, so the next thing you can do is you're like, well, that's actually pretty helpful, but I want to get even more specific. Oh, let me take another step back. I'm sorry. In terms of credit scores, Credit Karma, what they do is, and a lot of people don't know this, is Credit Karma does their own internal calculations of what they think TransUnion and Equifax scores will be based on their pulling and seeing people's reports. They don't actually pull it directly from it. They pull the reports, but they don't actually pull the scores. They generate those scores internally. And the same thing I believe goes for credit.com. So if you guys go over to, if you're like, hey, well, I want to get my specific score, and then you guys can go to um, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian directly. Pay like a small fee. The numbers vary, and you can get their report there with a credit score. I personally have not done that recently. I find that Credit Karma's internal score calculation is relatively accurate. It may be a few points on or off, but if you're just kind of getting started and getting going, I mean the Credit Karma and the Credit.com scores will be 98 from what I found, 98 or something percent accurate for most of the time. So don't hold me to it, but it's very accurate. Okay. So in terms of what hurts your scores, well, you think that's kind of obvious, but it always isn't. The number one thing that hurts your score is going to be your missed payments. Okay, the missed payments are really, really big thing. A lot of us have them. It happens. You forget to pay something, you get behind, you rob Peter to pay Paul. It happens. A statistics that I read the other day said that somewhere between I think 60 or 70% of Americans are literally a paycheck to paycheck. But I feel like it's kind of funny because when we look around and we're at work and we see our neighbors and whatnot, we see everyone's kind of doing their thing. Sometimes we think that we're the only ones in a tough financial situation, not knowing what our neighbors or our colleagues or friends or even family members, even close family members, are going through financially a lot of times. So I just want to let you guys know you're not the only ones going through it. So you know, when you hear these things, don't think that it's a scarlet letter because a lot of us have it. So, missed payments, that's number one thing. All right. The collections, that's another thing. And, your high debt to income ratio, that's another thing. Those are the three big things. Now, when it comes to missed payments, creditors will report things to your report at different times. To different reports. Some report to all three, some won't. Also, they will report based on their discretion. So, for example, depending on what you have your loan through, if you have a federal student loan, that may get reported in 90 days instead of 30 days. At least it was when I had student loans a few years back. Depending on, I think if it's whether it's Fannie Mae or whether it's through another private agency, whether through private agency. Some were reported in 30 days, some were due 90. So, you may have a little leeway with your student loans before they start to report it. Can't say that definitively, but it does happen. Whereas I found with medical bills, well, they will hit you within 30 days. The 31st day, you got an assistant just, hammering out bills, sending them aggressively. Hell, you might even sit the check in the mail, and and it's on your report. That happens a lot. A lot of people get hit with medical bills. It just seems to be the thing nowadays. With that said, FICO, because it's become such a problem to where so many millions of Americans have issues with medical bills, they have actually slightly adjusted their score to where if you do have collections or past due medical bills where you try to set up payments, it will still impact your score, but it will not impact yours negatively as what it used to. Now they don't specifically give details of just how much because they still have their own internal calculations that they do that they don't make public, but they just have stated on their website that it actually will impact you less than prior. So that's actually really cool. Um, as you guys can see here too, if you want to go to my FICO, they will actually this is you're going right to the horse's mouth. You do have the option of purchasing the credit bureaus, all three credit bureau reports and their actual FICO scores directly from them. You're welcome to do it. I personally think that it's overkill. I think that the free tools give you relatively good accurate information, but if you want to be super super diligent and super precise, you do have that option. Collections. Okay, and when it comes to collections, you have collections are obviously in different ages. So you have collection accounts that just hit, and you have collection accounts that have been sitting there for 4 or 5 years. Now, typically, collection accounts stay on your report for 7 years. That's what they're supposed to be, is 7 years. Okay. Um, One of the tricks that I have found that a lot of people don't aware of is that debtors. Well, let me take another step back. When you have something that's past due, a lot of the times, once the debtor, once the creditor writes it off, they will then sell that to a third party, and these people purchase your debt for a lot of the times pennies on the dollar. So let's say if you have a medical bill for $2,500 and you haven't paid it in a year, they may take that, the creditor, the hospital, what have you, their billing company may take that, sell that to a completely unrelated third party person who purchases debt, and they usually purchase them, they package them up, right? And let's say for $3,500, and I'm just making up a number, they may have purchased your debt for I don't know, $100, maybe even less, maybe $50. Okay, and the name of the game for them was just to get something for you guys to just pay something, because for them they're winning. They purchased it, the hospital wrote it off. You're gonna that's where those collection costs start coming into, where you get those, when you're sitting there having dinner, you're like, oh my God, it's another collection cost. I'm gonna avoid these people. I'm gonna avoid them. Tell you guys another quick story. I've been with my spouse now for about 7 years now, and when we started dating, she had really really poor credit, and she was of the mindset, well, I don't really have the money right now, so why am I even bothering picking up these phone calls? And a lot of them were student loans and some other things. And I'm like, this is crazy, but like second weekend, I'm actually telling her, no, you need to contact your creditors. She's like, well, I don't have any money. And I'm like, well, I don't care. You need to call them, negotiate with them, pay them down. And long story short, with that, she contacted them. She said it was a really mentally painful process. She didn't have much money at the time, and they were able, they were just so happy to have gotten a phone call that they were willing to really negotiate with her for pennies on the dollar. So I think she had a few medical bills, four or five, $600. And I don't remember the exact amount really for what she paid or what they were, but I remember that she paid them off for a significantly less, like I think it was 15 or 20% less than what she owed. And in addition to that, when you contact your creditors, a lot of the times they will do payment plans with you. So let's say that hypothetically you had a $3,500 credit card bill, right? They got you balling out of control. You got to prove you defaulted on it. It's been a couple years. Excuse me. You turn around, you call the third party creditor that it got sold off to, and say, listen, I don't have $3,500. I'm not giving you 7% out. I got $300. They'll look at you. They'll say no, yada yada. You go back and forth for a couple of days, a week or so. Eventually, they may settle on $700 for 3,500. And you say, okay, great. Now all I have is, can I pay you in 4 or 5 month increments? And then there you have it. 4 months later, that $3,500 got turned into $600, and you paid them off in a 4 or 5 month time span. I mean, that happens. It is super common, and that's how you start to get ahead of the game. And then your high debt to income ratio. I mean, that's something for people who typically, I found that's kind of a last thing to be concerned about, because typically, if you already have good credit, even if your debt to income ratio, you won't run into a lot of issues, but every now and then you will run into issues to where you have that. All right. A couple of things that you guys need to be aware of when it comes also to the collection accounts and things of that nature is that one of the tricks that a lot of people won't tell you, and I've yet to see a YouTube video on this, is that creditors have a habit of reporting things over to reporting them repetitively, making them look as though that they're new again. So let's say you had a medical bill that you got in collection account 4 years ago, and then you take a look at the account, and they're reporting it as though it just happened in 2018. Right, and that's a trick that they're not allowed to use, but they will use because people don't know about this and they're afraid to look at the reports and attack them and challenge them on it, to where they will keep continue to report it, so that it may have been 4 or 5 years, 6 years ago, and then but they re-reported it, so now it resets to the 6 years. You guys can dispute that, you can challenge it, and then they are obligated by law to get that off. Okay, they it can only stay on there for 7 years. That's it. But you need to look out for that. Even if you do owe a lot of things, you need to look out for that because they will do that, and you need to catch them on it. Don't let them get away with it. All right. Another thing you guys need to be made aware of is sometimes you may have paid things off, or sometimes things accounts may be over 7 years and they haven't fallen off, and they're hurting your score and you don't know why. Maybe you've got some things that you know that you owe, but there's some things that were way back that also haven't fallen off that you can dispute. And just by disputing those and those coming off, that will raise your score. And depending on what your individual circumstance is, whether it's a few $1,000s, a few hundred, that could significantly just by itself raise your score. Okay, so there's a lot of options you guys have, irrespective of what your financial situation is, that can actually significantly improve your credit score. You have a lot of options. You are empowered. The government does give us a lot of information, but a lot of people just are afraid to kind of take that step when they think they aren't quite in the right financial position, because they think that creditors are just going to kind of roll over them and bully them, and that's just not the case. All right, so that's really important. Now, the good stuff. How do I dispute the information? Well, I've already told you guys that you can do that through the annual credit report site, which you can. You can also do that if you want to go to the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian and set up an account with them and pay for their individual credit reports if you don't quite trust the accuracy of the free ones, which, again, I've found over the years that they're very accurate. But you can also go there directly to the horse's mouth. You can purchase reports and you can dispute through theirs as well. Now, here's some fun stuff. Okay, when it comes to disputing, you guys can see the links up here. I purposely have them up here in this order for a reason. Okay, um, you have okay, on this site here, bettercreditblog.org. They're showing you that you have a few ways that you can manually go through and create letters that will actually allow you to dispute items to the credit bureaus. So let's say you go online, you go to annualcreditreport.com, you dispute something, they come back and they say, well, it's yours. Oh, well, shoot, well, of course I knew it was mine. Maybe you didn't know it was yours, and they say, oh, yeah, I remember that. Well, you still have a few options. Still, it's everything's not for loss. Okay, you can go here and you actually have the ability of writing a goodwill letter. And I kid you not, this does work. It hasn't worked for me because I haven't tried it, but I've spoken to people who have tried it and they've said it does work. And basically, is you literally just sit here, you take the goodwill letter. This is what it looks like. Put in your information, your date, all this good stuff, and you send this out to the credit bureau agencies. And you'll obviously put your account number in there from the free credit report that you've obtained. All right, and you basically just ask them, say, hey, listen, I'm having an issue getting approved for a loan or getting approved for a car loan or what have you. Can you please remove this? A lot of the times, if it's really old, 4, 5, 6 years, and it's about to fall off, but it's still kind of hurting you, they will take it off. Another thing that I left out before I continue is the longer that something is on your credit report, the less it has an impact. Meaning, if you have a collection account that is old for, let's say, that's old, OLD, not OWED, for, let's say, 4 or 5, 6 years, sometimes what will happen, well, not sometimes. Anytime you pay off that that collection account, whether it's a year old or 5 or 6 years old, your credit score will always drop. That's normal, perfectly normal. It's happened to me when I paid off all my collections, so it happens. However, what you will notice sometimes is that the older that an account is, you paying it off will actually drop your credit score more. And the reason I think that is because it's considered as though, although it's paid off, they see it as though the account has kind of been revived. It's a really weird algorithm one that they have. But if the account is 5 or 6 years old, it's about to fall off. I mean, let me go ahead and pay this thing. You'll notice instead of your account, score dropping another, I don't know, I'm making up numbers here. Another, 20 points, it may drop 30, 35 points. I don't know, but it does happen. It does drop more. That's very commonplace. Um, Another thing is this: if an account is, let's say, 6 years old, it may just be better just to let it fall off, instead of actually paying it. It really does come down to individual circumstance as to whether you need to get some credit or not. But I found that a lot of creditors, if an account is really old and about to fall off, they won't calculate it as much to take to use that. Use that. So that's another leverage point that you guys have. Old accounts don't weigh as heavily on your credit score. Um, Moving forward, so you've already sent the goodwill letter. They're like, nah, we ain't doing that. We're not feeling in a good mood today. I don't know, I didn't sleep good. I don't know, get this goodwill letter out of my face. Okay. Well, you have the ability to then go to advanced dispute methods. And what that does is you can go there and you can actually tell them, hey, listen, um, and I need you guys to remove this information. You give them a current copy of your report. When you find the entry of the collection that you want, and then you ask them to remove it based on, um, sorry, just based on the letter looking to be more advanced and giving them more detailed information. Um, why this exactly works, I'm not entirely sure to be quite honest, but I know that it does work because I've spoken to people. It's basically just a harsher letter demanding that they correct any invalid information. And then what will basically happen is that if they're not able to validate it, that they can't, they can't remove it. And then the third step is it's just a flat out validation letter. This is a letter saying, now I'm not telling you guys to do this because I don't encourage it, I don't condone it. But what can happen and what some people have tried in the past, although collection agencies have gotten a lot smarter with it and it doesn't work to the what degree that I used to back in the day, was that you just basically send them a letter saying, "Hey, I need you guys to validate this debt. I'm not saying it's not mine, but I'm not saying that it is." You send them a manual letter of validating the debt under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, so and so, and then they are required to go to the creditor, and then they are required to actually provide proof that this debt is yours. Okay, and then when all else fails, you can hire a professional a professional credit repair agency. This is not a. I want to kind of go here. Uh, Sorry. Here we go. I couldn't think of the name. I have actually. This is not an endorsement. I don't work with them. There's no affiliation. I'm not being paid for this one single dollar. I just want to be clear about that. Okay. I don't know anyone at the law firm. This is just. This is my experience with using them. I've used these guys before. They do work. They're a little slow. They're a little pricey, but it works. There are cheaper ones out here, but what they will do is they will help kind of facilitate the dispute process if you're not getting things back in a timely fashion, if you're not kind of getting the results. You know, they do things straight up. They do things right to the point, right down to the letter of the law. So if you have a lot of inaccuracies that you're not getting a progress on to where you're like, hey, they're not getting this solved, Lexington Law will actually really help you out. And again, there are other credit bureau companies out there, but I used them for about a year or so, and they were able to get some inaccuracies off relatively good. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys that information so you know you have other options. All right, so at this point, I've given you guys the where to go to get your reports. I told you how to get your scores. You know that it doesn't hurt you. You know that you can dispute things online. You know that you can send letters to the credit bureaus. You know that you can negotiate your collection accounts. You know you can actually negotiate them for pennies on the dollar. You can do payment plans on it. You got a lot of options. I don't think that there's enough information out there that empowers individuals. You know, it, it's it, you know, It doesn't empower us enough to kind of take advantage and take ownership of our current financial situation. You know, for some reason, I feel like we've been taught to be fearful a lot, and you know, that just shouldn't be the case. You know, we have a lot of options that people aren't aware of. You are in control, and you can actually make a difference, irrespective of where you are financially. Okay, so just always remember that as you go through this process. Okay, so at this point, you guys have disputed things, you disputed all the information, you've negotiated your debt down for pennies on the dollar, you've gotten your payment plan. Okay, the next thing is um, the next thing would be for the accounts that you owe. So the way that I've approached it when I've had issues is that you just pay the small ones first. So let's say you have an account and it's small, $200, $300. I consider that small. Call them and say, hey, listen, you know, I know I was 60 days past due. Heck, you haven't even reported to the collection agency yet. Do you guys mind if I make a payment plan? I have found that 99% of the time, a creditor or a debtor will allow payment plans. So attack those small ones first. If it's gone in your collection within a year, 2 or 3 years, call them, pay it down, knock it off. Even though your credit score drops, it shows to other creditors that you're beginning to take steps where you take your credit seriously, and um, that it actually shows that you're making progress to improving the score. Trust me when I tell you from experience, a paid off collection account looks a hell of a lot better than a non paid off account. I don't care what your credit score is, it matters. Believe me. You got to remember, there are also people looking at this stuff. Although a lot of computer systems just kind of go through the through the credit scores based on when you submit your things. You know, if you're going for a car loan, a lot of those loan officers, those loan guys back there, the finance guys, they look at that. If they see you have collection accounts, but you paid them off, I promise you, they want to get you that car. They will do it. If they see the collection accounts are sitting there and you haven't made any payments on them, they're not likely to do it. Making an attempt to pay collection accounts will make the world of difference when it comes to getting approved for things. I cannot tell you how important that is. Um, so if you've done that, you've paid off the small accounts first, you've set up the plans. Now, here's a really, really cool trick. If you guys have been tuned to this part, I appreciate y'all's patience and dealing with me. Hopefully, you guys gotten a lot of information to this point. But here's a really, really cool, you know, refreshing nugget. If you know someone, a friend, a member, a family friend, a member. I don't know what that is, but I guess it's a family who's a friend and a member of a family. If you have a family or if you have a man, I'm all tongue tied here today because I'm so excited. If you have a family member or you have a friend who has a good credit score, you can actually have them put you. Heck, even forget the credit score. Let's just say they have a good account, a long-standing credit card that they paid. You can actually get them to add you as an authorized user on the account. Now, what does that do? That will not only show a positive payment account on your credit report, the entire history of the credit account will show. So, if your husband, or yeah, wife or whoever, you know, has a 9 year payment history on, let's just say, a Discover or Bank of America credit card, if they add you not as an authorized user, it shows that you've been paying on that Discover Bank of America credit card for 9 years. That can boost your credit score dramatically, but you have to have somebody who's willing to do it. Sorry, people, I'm not one of them. But you can do it. You can definitely do it. Another thing to note also is you want to make sure that if you do get someone to do that, you want to call the company first to find out if they actually will report it. 99% of them will add you to an authorized user. But the trick that some of the companies are playing now, Wells Fargo Bank to be one of them. I love Wells Fargo. I got you as my banker, but you know they stopped this. Shame on y'all. Is um, they will let you add into an authorized user, but they won't transfer the history over. A lot of companies still will, but some companies kind of get hip to the game and they're stopping that. Wells Fargo is one of those. So there you have it, people. I gotta tell you, you know, if you just start to attack this from like a baby steps. I'm going to start to make progress and start taking control of my finances and just doing what I can do, handle it, and kind of putting it in God's hands. What you'll find is that your score can and will improve almost dramatically. It could be anywhere from 30 days to 60, 90, 160 days. But I promise you, if you guys are doing these things, there's no way, irrespective of your financial situation, that your credit won't improve within a 90-day period. Okay, it just won't. The creditors are expecting and banking on you not doing this. They're expecting you to be fearful, to be afraid, of just kind of taking ownership, of logging in, of looking at your reports, of having that emotional hurt that goes through, and that embarrassment when you look at your own thing and see you got 190 days past due. Oh yeah, that's right, that one credit card that I applied for 3 days, 3 years ago. Oh man, ooh, I don't want to have to call those. I'm embarrassed about that. I don't have the money right now. Like they're banking on that, and the way that you can get back at them, the way you can start taking control and ownership of things, and being able to navigate easier in life, and getting that financial freedom that I have right here is about taking control of your finances and attacking it. So I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to support you. That's what this channel is for. It is about motivation. It is about positive influence, and it is about information. I want you guys to subscribe to the channel. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to comment, and I want you to share this video with your friends. I understand it's a 36 plus minute video, but I do not think there is a better video on YouTube that is giving you guys the game to credit information and credit scores and credit improvement. I challenge you to find one better than this than it's on YouTube. So please, if you're even remotely serious with your finances, if you're remotely serious with your credit score, it costs you nothing to get better. That's it. Don't even have to get up out of your chair. You can go online right now tonight. You can do the reports, you can check your scores, and you can make it happen. If you guys got any questions, please leave me a comment down below. I will try my best to respond to every single one. Please hit the subscribe button because I will be bringing a lot more financial videos and nuggets to you guys. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and God bless.